Every morning you pour honey on your toast, thinking it's healthy. But there's a real chance what's in that bottle isn't honey. Not by definition. Not even close. One microscopic thing is missing. When bottles got tested, 3 out of 4 grocery store honeys failed to have it. Stick around for brand number 5. Here's the one fact you need before anything else makes sense. Real honey has pollen in it. Always. It's microscopic. It comes from whatever flowers the bees actually visited. It works like a fingerprint. It tells you exactly where that honey came from. People buy honey instead of sugar for a reason. They want the real thing, not a processed syrup wearing honey's name. A journalist named Andrew Schneider had a simple idea. Don't argue about honey online. Buy it. He picked up honey in 10 different states. He sent every jar to one of the best pollen labs in the country. The man running that lab was Vaughn Bryant, out of Texas A&M. He spent his career doing exactly this kind of testing. That's not a random scientist. That's the person you'd want doing this test. It's like getting a house inspected by the actual person who wrote the building code. Schneider bought more than 60 jars, jugs, and plastic bears. Grocery stores, big box stores, drug stores, farmers markets, all of it. Then he shipped every single one to Bryant's lab. Here's what came back. Picture the actual odds for a second. 76% of honey from major grocery chains had 0 pollen. Stores like Safeway, Kroger, Harris Teeter, Stop & Shop, and King Soopers. Not low. 0. 77% from big box stores. And drugstore honey, the stuff near the pharmacy counter, came back at 100%. Pick any drugstore chain you want. Same result, every time. If you'd grabbed honey at a drugstore during that window, you had basically no chance of getting the real thing. Read that again, 100%. Not a bad batch, not one bad brand, an entire category of stores, completely failing the most basic test of what honey is supposed to be. So how does pollen just disappear? It's not evaporating on its own. Someone has to actively remove it, on purpose, with equipment built for that job. There's a process called ultra-filtration. They heat the honey, sometimes they thin it with water. Then they force it through filters so fine that pollen can't pass through. Regular filtering just strains out wax and bee parts. Every honey brand does that. Completely normal. Ultra-filtering goes one step further. It strips out the one thing that proves where your honey came from. It's like sanding the serial number off a stolen watch. The object still looks fine. You just can't ever prove where it actually came from. Here's the part that made this stop feeling like an accident to me. The FDA told this same reporter, in writing, something specific. Honey with the pollen removed doesn't legally count as honey. The World Health Organization ruled the same way. So did the European Commission. So why would a company buy a machine for one specific purpose? To remove the one thing that proves what they're selling is real. The president of the American Honey Producers Association answered that directly. Stripping out every trace of pollen does nothing but cost money and diminish the quality, he said. Unless you're hiding something. Think about the economics for a second. Ultrafiltration equipment costs real money to install and run. Nobody spends that money to make a product worse on purpose, unless the thing it removes is worth more hidden than visible. A longtime beekeeper in that same investigation put it more bluntly. The only reason to remove all the pollen is to hide where the honey came from. In almost every case, he said, that place is China. That's not a guess sitting in someone's opinion. For years, the U.S. has kept steep tariffs to keep cheap, subsidized Chinese honey out of the market. Partly because past shipments tested positive for illegal antibiotics and heavy metals. So when that honey needs to dodge the tariff, it gets rerouted. Shipped through a different country first, relabeled along the way, then sold into the U.S. like it came from somewhere else entirely. Indonesia, Thailand, other countries. The label just needs somewhere that isn't China. There's an actual term for this. Honey laundering. Say that out loud once. It sounds like a crime, because it is one. Now let's get to the 5 brands. Vague industry talk doesn't help you tonight at the store. You need actual names, sitting on actual shelves. Brand number 1, Sue Bee. This one matters because Sue Bee isn't a small player. It's made by the Sioux Honey Association, by its own claim the largest honey supplier in America. They also bottle under Clover Made, Aunt Sue, and Natural Pure, plus a long list of store brands you'd never trace back to them. When the reporter asked Sue Bee directly whether their honey gets ultra-filtered, they wouldn't answer, not once, repeatedly. Silence, from the single biggest name in American honey. If they had nothing to hide, that would have been the easiest question all day. Brand number 2, Walmart's Great Value Honey. Named specifically in that same round of testing as one of the store brands showing zero pollen. One of the largest retailers on earth, selling something that legally isn't honey. Brand number 3, Publix's House Brand. This one went further than a bad lab result. Florida residents actually sued Publix over 2 specific products. Orange Blossom Honey and Pure Clover Honey, both labeled pure, both ultra-filtered, sold without ever disclosing that on the label. Brand number 4, Target's House Brand Honey. Same lawsuit, same claim. Their Market Pantry and Archer Farms lines, both named in the filing. 4 brands in, and this already reads like a pattern. But the 5th one is the one that actually stopped me. And brand number 5, the one that genuinely surprised me. Walgreens, a pharmacy chain, selling honey a few feet from your prescriptions, named in that exact same lawsuit. Aldi got pulled into it too, for what it's worth. It's Berry Hill Clover Honey, specifically named alongside the rest. So this wasn't 5 separate accidents lining up. It was a pattern running through the biggest retail names in the country. All at the same moment. The same courthouse. The same accusation. 5 separate times. If you've ever grabbed the plastic honey bear from any of these 5 just because it was cheapest in the aisle, drop the brand below. I want to see how many of us have been doing this without knowing. Here's the part that's bigger than any brand on that list. This isn't just a labeling technicality that got a company an angry letter. In 2013, federal investigators ran an actual operation that led to real criminal charges. They called it Project Honeygate. 5 people and 2 honey processing companies got charged. Honey importers and packers were charged for deliberately disguising Chinese honey to dodge tariffs, selling it under a false origin. Together, they were accused of evading more than $180 million in duties. People went to federal court over this. Not a fine, not a warning letter. Prosecuted as fraud, in front of a judge. 2 of the companies involved agreed to pay fines just to close the case out. Put a real number on how big this actually is. Honey has been named among the most commonly faked foods sold anywhere in the US, ranked right up there with olive oil. Same story, different bottle. A product people trust precisely because it looks simple and natural. That's not some tiny corner of the shelf nobody buys from. That's a massive share of what's sitting in stores across the entire country, right now. Here's the genuinely good news. That same era of testing also proved something reassuring. Every single sample bought from farmers markets, co-ops, and natural food stores came back completely pollen-rich. 100%, no exceptions. This isn't a hopeless situation. It's just about knowing where to look. Best option, look for the True Source certified seal on the jar. This is a real third-party program, launched around 2010 by honest honey companies sick of watching this happen. It traces honey from the actual beekeeper to the jar on your shelf, backed by independent audits checking country of origin. It's not a marketing sticker somebody printed themselves. An outside auditor actually has to sign off on it first. Several major retailers now require it for their own store brand honey. That alone tells you it's not some obscure niche label nobody checks. Good option. Glory be. Every jar they import carries True Source certification. It verifies origin instead of just printing pure and hoping you don't ask. Minimum harm option. Your actual local beekeeper. Farmers markets, co-ops, the guy with hives 2 towns over. That's exactly where Bryant's tests found perfect, untouched pollen every single time. No ultra-filtration machine involved at all. And here's the twist I didn't expect going into this. Costco's own Kirkland Signature Honey is now True Source certified, a big box store brand, the exact category that failed this test. It has actually cleaned up its supply chain since then. Not every big brand is stuck being the villain forever. If you're stuck with whatever's already open in your cabinet tonight, Check the label for an actual floral source. Wildflower, clover, orange blossom, buckwheat, whatever it says. Reputable producers need to genuinely know where the nectar came from to legally use that word. A jar that just says pure honey and nothing else isn't automatically fake. But it's not proof of anything either. If this is the kind of thing that makes you actually flip the bottle over next time, hit subscribe. It helps more people catch this before they're standing confused in the honey aisle. This isn't about tossing every honey bear you own into the trash tonight. It's about knowing which detail on the label actually tells you something real, versus which one is just marketing. Remember that number from the start of this video. 3 out of every 4 grocery store samples came back with 0 pollen. That's not a rumor somebody made up. That's a Texas A&M lab result, sitting on record, with your kitchen basically in the data set. So here's what actually changes, starting tomorrow morning. Honey has quietly become one of the most faked foods on the entire shelf. The only reason almost nobody talks about it is simple. The fraud is invisible once it's already sealed in the jar. Here's the one concrete habit. Check for the true source seal before you even check the price tag. That's the whole change. Nothing complicated. And the pattern here reaches past honey entirely. Whenever a food's origin can be quietly erased with the right machine, someone eventually will do it. Not out of malice, just because it's cheaper. Honey just happens to be the version of that story with pollen as the fingerprint. Tomorrow, it might be olive oil, or spices, or something else entirely. The lesson underneath all of it stays exactly the same. Whatever proves where your food actually came from is exactly the thing worth checking for. Not the label's prettiest word. The proof underneath it. Small habit, real payoff, starting with the next jar you buy. If this changed how you'll shop for honey, that's worth a like. Not for me, for anyone in your feed who still needs to see this before they buy the wrong jar. Next time you tip that little plastic bear over your toast, you're probably going to flip it over and read the back label first. That's kind of the whole point of me telling you this.